Dock workers on the east and Gulf coasts are on strike, halting ports stretching from Maine to Florida.
And this may affect the availability of some goods eventually, but now is not the time to panic buy. The dean of the University of Buffalo School of Management, Ananth Iyer, joins us now to share why. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, we have already heard a few reports of people once again buying up toilet paper and hoarding it. This is not something that people need to do, right?
Yes, and most of these disruptions usually are anticipated. There's enough inventory in the pipeline, and everybody has an incentive for some kind of resolution. The question is how long it takes to get there. So my suggestion would be to sort of consider that there are many rational players in the system and sort of thinking carefully about what you need. Some things you may need to buy in order to ensure it's available, but for things like toilet paper and other things, a lot of it is manufactured within the United States. It's not imported. Therefore, it's not worth worrying about those issues for now.
But let's talk about what products might be impacted here.
So the kinds of products I would think about would be in two categories. One is perishables that are imported. So things like bananas, maybe peaches and things of that sort. But if you think about it, those are the goods that cannot spend too much time in the ocean. They're from countries closer by. So that is one thing you can expect some kind of disruption. Particularly in the case of an item like bananas, there is a lot of inventory in the system, and so that might work itself out. In terms of the selection of fruits and vegetables, that might be affected a bit. In the case of what I call non-perishables, durables, many things that are not made in the United States, but that are, in some sense, what I call lower margin items, there is a lot of inventory in the system. So my guess is if this lasted significantly more than a few weeks, that's when those are the items that would be of concern.
Does it look like it's going to last more than a few weeks? This automation issue seems like it's a real sticking point.
Yes. So we've been hearing a lot about wages. And wages is something employees and employers always negotiate wages. Everybody asks for a raise, and there's some negotiation. And that's something that we should expect to play its course. The bigger question is the automation, freezing investment in automation. And that's a part that's worth sort of thinking about. The reason employees think that automation is bad is they think their jobs get eliminated. But there's a second consequence to this. Without automation, the port is not competitive. And when ports are not competitive, all of those goods go somewhere else where it's more competitive. And competitiveness in a port means how quickly you can get things unloaded and on the trucks, etc. So the longer those goods stay at the ports, the less competitive the ports are compared to ports across the world. If we're not competitive, a lot of the goods might go to Canada. So it's not as if you win. In general, if done right, a lot of automation actually results in an increase in jobs. It's just that jobs change. And I think that's the part I wish there was a little more discussion. So it might be that if cooler heads prevailed, there is a solution where everybody gets what they are.
Time will tell, though.
Exactly.
Time will tell.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.
Mike's going to have another check of your forecast straight ahead.